Good afternoon, everybody. This is Terry Arndt. I just set up my screen online. You should be able to see a Camo to Career image with some people on there. Let me see. I see some people are indicating they can't see the screen yet. Let me check this out. Okay, so it looks like the video is being delayed. Let me check this out. We got some time here before other people join on. It looks like we got a number of people who signed up that not logged in yet. So let me work on this. Still people not able to see my screen. Okay. Okay, so it looks like it's working now. Thanks, Chelsea, for giving me that update. I apologize there's not a dial-up as part of this program. I know working with the team over at WCDA, trying to coordinate this last minute and put together a webinar, we were not able to utilize the NCDA's services. So we did our best. Hopefully this works. I see some people say it's working for them. Other people are still saying it's not, which is fine as long as you can hear me. Let me see. So I'm just going to post it here. Can everybody hear me? I know now people are able to see it. So yeah, so it looks like once you refresh the page, things should come up. So, all right. Perfect. Good. So, I want to do some things here. I want to switch around before I go to the rest of the program. What I want to do is talk about what Veteran Transition Publishing does and why we're focusing in this area. Several years ago, my colleague, Nick Osborne, who's the director of the Ches Family Foundation for Wounded Warriors over at the University of Illinois, contacted me at a first-year experience course or conference in San Diego and asked if there was anything that was available for veterans, and it's particularly student veterans that are choosing a higher education path. And I mentioned there wasn't. We didn't have anything at the time. He says, look, you need to have something. It's a great opportunity. There's a lot of need for this. And over the next 6 months, we went through the programs of how and what kind of information would be provided. And we came out with our first year experience guide that was targeted for that student veteran audience, and it was received with great success. And as a result, we moved into the next phase, which was their transition out of college and how to make sure they retain and maintain as a student in college. And one of the things that took place was that we were seeing students were dropping out because they didn't have a mission, a goal, a purpose in mind. And I want to go over that with some of my slides today and talk about those things. So the first thing I want to highlight is the scope of veterans that are choosing higher education. So what's happening now, I was at a conference about 2 weeks ago. Robert Worley, who's the Director of Education for the Veterans Administration, was there, and he was talking about, he was talking about the scope and size of the programs that were taking place. As of that date, just over 1.7 million veterans have been taking advantage of the post 9/11 GI Bill. Now, that's important to know because it's a significant dollar investment into higher education. That 1.7 million veterans that are seeking higher education equates to $67 billion that are being pushed into higher education programming for the success of those student veterans. Unfortunately, he continued his conversation and talked about the challenges that are taking place in higher education, and particularly with veterans. And right now, out of that 1.7 million, a little over 800,000 of them are not completing their higher education degree. For most of them, they're dropping out usually shortly after signing up, within that first semester. And I'm not sure about you, but the last time I took a course and I got a 51.7% success rate on that, that counted as an F. And so that proves to me that conversation I had with Nick Osborne back in San Diego 4 years ago is that there is significant room for improvement. Obviously there is. Because when you think about here in Washington State, for example, we work with a number of people, particularly veterans that are coming in from, say, Joint Base Lewis McChord, Whidbey Island, all those different bases. They come home after serving, and they're welcomed by their children, their family. It's very emotional. So, seeing this image just drives so much different feelings, right? And to go to them and say, you know what, we're investing in you. We want to reward you for your service and help you catapult your family to another level. And so we're offering you as a public offering to take advantage of this GI Bill, a free education, right? And when we turn around and say, but there's only a chance, that 50% chance, roughly, maybe a little bit more, that you're actually going to succeed at that. So part of that are a number of issues. Why are they not succeeding? Well, if you've been participating with veterans on any kind of scope, you will see this image, usually in listservs, things like that, when people, particularly veterans, are posting questions about, hey, I'm thinking about taking advantage of my GI Bill, what's your feedback, what's college like, and people tend to post these kind of images. They feel out of place. And they know this. I mean, a lot of great programs out there, great veteran success programming, are welcoming those veterans on the campus, explaining, hey, you're going to be interacting, and there's a mix and diversity of students here. A lot of them are younger, but this is what the college experience is about, right? And to address those and to engage and talk to those student veterans about those expectations, those common pitfalls, things like that. And there's a lot of room or a lot of progress that's been made in those areas, which is great. So, what do we need to do to help them be successful? How to retain them? And so that conference I was at a few weeks ago, where Robert Worley was talking, there's a lot of emphasis on a mission, a path. Military veterans, for example, have spent a lot of time, their entire career in the military, with a schedule. They know when they wake up in the morning what they're actually going to be doing for the rest of the day. They don't have the option of like, I'm just going to take off from 1 to 3 and just get back at home and eat a snack and watch TV. That's not part of that military culture, right? 0600, you get up, boom, you have breakfast from this time to this time. You go to training from this time to this time. You go out onto a mission from this time to this time, et cetera, all the way until you go to sleep at night. And the next day it's repetitive. Well, when they get to college, outside of some scheduled classes, there's really not an end path. What's the goal? And that's where I see career services being a key component to the success of our student veterans on campus. Student veterans are there for one particular reason. Overwhelming, the number one reason student veterans choose higher ed is to get a great career. The problem is, when student veterans graduate, there's an overwhelming large percentage of them that are underemployed or unemployed upon graduation, which is concerning. And when this was brought up to me about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, we started digging into it and seeing what kind of information we could find. And what was interesting is that we're all members of the NACE group, right? Or a lot of us are, and are familiar with it. But NACE has come out every year with a list of, qualifications that people are looking for in candidates. And this ranges from communication skills, honesty, and personal skills. But when you go through this list of skill sets that they're seeking, this shows me that they're looking for the qualities of a military veteran. Outside of that one that's about 15 down there, GPA 3.0 or better, everything else there speaks to me as veteran. So when a veteran chooses to go to campus, to choose to get a higher degree, and has a skill set they're bringing with them, they are the ideal candidate. So why are they being unemployed or underemployed? So we work with a number of our colleagues out there in the industry, particularly veteran services, since we had an inroad with them, and sent out some surveys, asked students, recent graduates, the best we could, and engage them and ask them, what about your job? What kind of career path are you going on? Is this what you expected? On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with the career path? What level did the college provide you in obtaining this career, if any? And overwhelmingly, the response was negative. Outside of pockets where there's some great programming going on, overwhelmingly, the discussion was that their jobs stink. So, we dug into that further. Why? Why do their jobs stink, and why are they being unemployed or underemployed? And I know this is a little busier slide here, but I'll go through it in a little more detail. Here's what they're saying when we asked the ones who reported negatively about what they needed help with. If they could go back and do it again, what kind of things could they have done or resources they could have taken advantage of to better succeed in that career path? And the first one, how to identify careers of interest. The second biggest one is translating their experiences in the military. These men and women are having great experiences, and sometimes they don't realize it. I was just in infantry. I don't really have any employable skills. Well, yes, you do, right? And so we start asking them questions and pulling that information about what did they do, who did they work for, did they have a team under them, what kind of equipment were they using, what kind of classes did they take, what kind of rank did they earn, what kind of military service organizations were they part of, trainings, etc. All those things compiled will make a great resume. The problem is converting that. And that's where we'll get into a little bit later here, where we see people like you who are participating in today's conference being a key for their success. Because translating experience is hard. When you look at this experienced person, or what I wrote up here, served as 11B leader, completed 2 deployments, service in support of OEF and OIF, supervised and drafted EERs and 7 E4s, and 2E3s conduct blah, 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 right? As a civilian, I do not know what that means. But with a few tweaks and turns, modifications, enhancements from a career service professional that understands this person's got some great credentials for an employer. Other things, similar to any other student that's walking into career service asking for help, or may not be walking in, that's trying to struggle and trying to find a job. Significance of soft skills, workplace etiquette, communication, workplace interactions, finding a mentor, etc., etc. These are all things that we are familiar with as career professionals, right? So, what can we do? So, we took this information and we're like, look, there's obviously a need for a career service guide or some kind of a tool for these veteran service centers that are out there. And so our first book that we talked about when I first introduced the presentation this afternoon was the one that Nick and I had wrote, which was kind of targeted for a first-year experience program or an orientation to campus that veterans could utilize and veteran service centers could utilize to help them succeed. You know, that's more non-cognitive type study skills, time management, etc. So we said we need to come out with another guide to help that same audience with this career component, right? Where we talk about maximizing those access to your services on campus. Why should you go into the Career Service Center now, early in your education path, and start talking about career? Internships are not just for little kids; they're for everybody. And there's a negative connotation with internships, externships, etc. within that veteran audience. The other thing is it's a challenge. If they're going to try those exploratory options as a veteran, sometimes the VA won't cover those kind of components. So now they're living on a tight budget. They have their family. They're going to Central Washington University. They're living on campus. Now they get a job, say in Yakima. They got to transfer or move over there, and they're not getting paid for that internship. That's a huge, huge hurdle for a veteran. But there's things that could be done, and it's a whole different discussion. We'll talk about that if needed later. But anyway, we produced this thing. The second chapter is like, how do you convert your military culture to civilian culture? Here's a bunch of resources online, and we decided this was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And so this last year we launched it out, and it did okay. It was interesting as I went to different conferences across the country, and this is where the title of this program comes in, The Big Disconnect. And partly it was my fault, launching of this product and how we positioned it. Because the big disconnect really contains two different factors. The first one was that college graduates, when you look at college graduation, college functionality, for the most part, career preparation, career services is a low component on the horizon of important things for career, for university. When you look at the own mission statements, and we did a query of 35 different mission statements for major and mid-sized and small universities from across the country, career services and any kind of career component was usually ranked in the 9th or lower level of importance. And you can see that when you go to a university today that's serving, say, 10 to 20,000 students, and they have a staff of 3 to 4 people, that is impossible for that career service team to effectively assist every single one of those students down a path of success. And we're starting to see career services modifying and making changes to better serve that larger audience by creating automated tools, online resources, et cetera, et cetera. But again, it's not an important component for the overall university. Expanding their minds, right? That knowledge base is really where universities call. And I know I've gone to the WCDA conferences, NACE conferences, and that's a common discussion and common pain point for universities and career services is that that disconnect. about why students are actually there and how we can support them. The bigger one, though, is that connection between career services and veteran services on campuses. Now, I want to segue this by saying it's not across the board, right? There are great partnerships and great programs out there, but from what I've seen over the last 2 years, walking on campuses, going to conferences, and talking to different groups, career services and then separately for veteran services, there is a disconnect. When I talk to career services, for example, and I go to the WCDA conference or NACE conference or the CEI conference, and I hand out copies of that book, Camo Career One, they're like, hey, this is great. When I get back to campus, I'll share this with our Veterans Center. I'm like, oh, awesome, thank you, right? But then I go to the NAFPA conference or NASPA's Vet Symposium conference, all the veteran-related conferences where Veteran Center resource leaders are at. I hand them a copy of the book, and they're like, this is great. I'll go back to campus and hand it to our Career Center, right? So that's where the disconnects. The Veteran Center thinks Career Services is assisting them, and Career Center is thinking that Veteran Center is on campus to help their veterans, so I'll hand them the resource. And who's getting missed in the between is that student. So I asked a lot more questions. When I went to WCDA and when I went to NACE and when I went to CEIA, how much time are you spending with your career or your Veteran Center? Not a lot. Why? Well, they're kind of protective down there. They don't like us coming in. We haven't been welcomed, or we haven't been invited, or whatever else. But that perception that veteran service director or whoever's leading that program is there and says, hey, stay out. These are my students. I don't want anybody from the outside engaging them, right? But when I go to the Veterans Conference and I say, hey, how come, are you working with your career centers? I'd like to, but they don't really know how to work with our student veterans. No, well, what do you mean by that? Well, when we send them there, they take them through the kind of generic stuff, and they really don't know how to speak the language and how to convert that, experiences over. It's like, so you're doing it at your vet center? You're doing those kind of things? Yeah, sort of. We sometimes will have someone come in and give a talk about it, and it helps out. Well, have you invited to the Career Center now? No. Well, why not? I guess I haven't really thought about it. Right? So you see this disconnect, and it's so frustrating because the people who are being missed, and again, I want to clarify, this is not happening on campuses, and I'm sure some people can post some questions here, comments about things that they're doing on campuses. By all means, please post that, because we don't have the ability to talk, so I'm counting on some feedback there from you. So if you have some feedback, again, I'll pause here for a second, but if you have some feedback or a question about anything I've said at this point, by all means, please post that and type it into the chat room, and I'll do my best to address those as we go along through the program. So please take advantage of that login or the chat room function there. So why is this disconnect? Why is that frustration there? And so I asked both parties, both sides, and here's what they're saying, right? Career centers, we're not welcome. They don't really want us down there. They're protecting their group. Veteran centers, they don't understand the population. They don't have the resources and service and knowledge to support our students. And it's the farthest from the truth, right? We went to the WCDA conference, those who attended, there weren't a lot of veteran-focused components there, but there was some great discussions at the committee at the beginning of the conference, and there's some other breakout sessions as well. There's some great topics out there. There's some great resources that WCDA's produced on this topic, And the second chapter in my book, how to convert your military cultures to civilian, that's a perfect tool not only for the student, but for career professionals. And so when I went back to that Veteran Center over the last year, as we're promoting and talking about this career component and career success for our student veterans, I said, Veteran Centers, you you are not career centers, right? When you look at your purpose, mission, and goals, the career centers on campus are there to be a support base to ensure the academic success of that student veteran, right? So helping them with VA bills, or the VA bill, helping them with funding, emergency aid, support, etc., to help them be successful, get an academic success, and earn a degree. Now, granted, a portion of that and having that goal of a career in front of them as a carrot as they're progressing through their higher ed has proven to be a successful tool. That needs to be a part of it, right? So, as they're going through these things, I'm reaffirming to them, it's like, you cannot do it alone, veteran centers. You need to have a team across campus, because if you try to do it alone, you're going to be this little microcosm on campus that no one wants to go talk to and help because of that protectionist, perception. The most successful programs out there are the ones where they're developing strong partnerships, doing, in effect, train the trainers kind of components, where they're bringing career professionals into their center, doing roundtables with students, having that career professional understand where students are, what their military background means, what it means to be a student veteran, the challenges they're facing, etc., but also to start educating them on the different experiences that they're having, right? The experiences on campus, but also their career experiences and what opportunities they're looking for and what kind of path to success and how to find a job and determine what kind of job they might be interested in. They need that, and that's where we, in our core, as career professionals, can be such an impactful piece to that veteran group. So let's talk about this team, building your team. And I'll take a second here. I'll just see if there's any questions up to this point. So hopefully everybody can get in there. I'll wait for that as questions tend to come in. I'll address those. But building your team on campus. Over and over, I tell that veteran center, and a lot of veteran centers, if they have a first-year experience or an orientation program on campus, I'm seeing a lot of programs start kind of pulling that veteran student population out of the traditional first-year experience orientation program and having their own. Career services need to be a part of that, right? You need to be involved at that early stage to give that student veteran that goal, right? Look, you're here on campus to get a career, to get a 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, whatever it might be, a certification. Here's what I'm doing. Here's my job. My job on campus is to help you, support you through the way to ensure that when you complete that degree, that certification, whatever it might be, you have a great career. So what schedule time to work? I'm here to support you, but it has to be a two-phase process. It's not just get an education and then get a career, right? They work together. So partnering with your veteran center, your orientation team, if you have one, your first-year experience team, your alumni association, because that's a great resource for paying. They have great data about who are student veterans that have graduated, where they're working at, bringing them in so they can speak veteran to veteran, but you can also show the power of that network. And then finally, the Student Veteran Association. So there's a lot of student veteran organizations on campus. If there is not a veteran center, chances are there's a student veteran association or student veteran organization of some sort on your campus. Find out what it might be: student veteran engineers, student veteran, X, Y, Z. So seek that out. Look at your student activities. Ask them if there's any student veteran components on campus. The other one, and which is interesting, which I tell a lot of people, which they're not taking advantage of, is their veteran service organizations off campus, right? Your VFW, your American Legion, your American Corps. Again, leveraging them. Find out who are movers and leaders, who are those people that have the credentials, I might say. as a qualifier that can come in and show them there are successes, there are ways you can get here, and this is how you do it, right? So they can be your spokesman for you as well. The other thing you need to do is seek out veterans on your staff, your faculty, your advisors, your board of directors. Those are key advocates, particularly if you're trying to create a new career service program in partnership with your veteran services. And you say, we need to produce a service program, a mini camp, some kind of function, resource. Having those people on board with you and going to them and saying, we're trying to accomplish this, can you assist us? What kind of things can we're finding this to be a hurdle. Having those people with some clout within your own organization and your own campus will help hugely. And the people that are making huge strides in servicing their student veterans are all reflecting back to this. That's why I bolded it, because that's a key component to it. Again, we talked about the alumni office, of course, your services there, career centers, the tutoring center. All these things come into play. Now, I do have questions that are popping up, so I want to pause here for a second because we're a good way through the program. Don's mentioned, hey, we've collaborated a little bit with our veterans office on programs, but having a trouble getting student participation. Any tips? Great question. And what's interesting about that, Don, is that you're not alone. In fact, I was hired to go down to speak at NAFPA, which is the National Association of Veteran Professionals, and my program, irrelevant to any of the things I do, was on marketing. Someone there at that organization enjoyed my videos, my webinars, my engagement tools, and said, can you create something and talk to us about how to create a better engagement tool? How do we get people engaged? In their case, with student veterans. And what's interesting, when I go to a first-year experience conference and I talk to them, it's like, we put on programs but students don't show up. I go to career services and talk to them. Yeah, we put on programs but students don't show up. I remember I got hired to go speak at the University of Nebraska several years ago and gave them all the marketing material, the promotion material, things like that. I flew into Omaha, drove out to Lincoln. I show up. It's supposed to be like a 3 to 5 o'clock type program. There's supposed to be a couple community leaders to kind of start the program off, and I was supposed to lead at the end. And I show up, and here's a campus of 37,000 students, and there were 17 students there. 17. So, part of my MBA I earned was in marketing, and I'll tell you all the stuff I learned in school doesn't apply to this scenario, but it really comes down to marketing. It's you trying to come up with a way to prioritize your service, your program, your event over everything else that student has going on in their life at that moment, right? Now, we all know career services sometimes isn't thought about until they're in their last semester of their senior year, maybe a little bit earlier. But that's why I think getting engaged and having some programming in that early phase of first year experience and talking to them about careers and talking about the income they're going to be earning, the opportunities that are available, why it's so great to go to UW or WSU or Pacific Lutheran, whatever it might be, right? And how the opportunities are there, but you got to take advantage of it now, because if you don't, you're going to miss out, and kind of spreading that message. And then when you do host your first event, it better be a rock star event, because if you get some person up there that's this and this and it's kind of boring and blah blah blah, every event that you promote after that is not going to go, right? The person, once they go to one and it sucks, they're not going to come back. And so that topic of marketing is a key component to engagement. And believe me, I did a 2-hour program down in San Diego for NAPA. We didn't cover near enough of the stuff of that, so I'm not going to be able to get through all of it today, Don, but I'd love to get with you and anybody else on a discussion about effective marketing and show you some examples of some programs that career services have done. I'll give you one that has worked well right now for several career programs I've talked to and veteran service programs of collaboration. Veteran services will get a student who has a work study. grant, right, or that's associated either from the VA or from the school. They will work in collaboration with career services. That student is going to go work over at career services. And their whole job while they're at career services is to understand all the resources that are available to help a student veteran get a career, right? The path for developing a resume, interview skills, dressing for success courses, all the different things, communication, networking, all those different things. And so they have to become an expert in a semester or a year by working in career services. But in addition, in that time frame, they're also educating all the team in career services about a student veteran, what their reasons are for being there, what kind of resources they need, testing out these online resources on how to describe their military experiences. Do they work? Do they not work? Etc. Right? And at the end of that, that student has to go back and do a recorded presentation in front of his peers over at the Veterans Center about the Career Center and why it's so valuable and what great tools they have and all experiences that student had in that work study. In a sense, peer-to-peer discussion, right? And then that student also has to give a presentation to the Career Service Center and all the staff about their work study, what they learned, what they found most valuable, etc. And I tell you, story after story, when I tell people to take advantage of that opportunity and use that type of service, the engagement from that student population, that peer-to-peer, increases tenfold, easily. It's a way to get the message out from a peer to a peer, but also the two parties that are involved, the three parties, Vet Center, Career Center, and that student, are all benefiting from it as well. So that's the one tip I suggest and I think would work out well. Another question here, Chelsea, is asked if you can come to a meeting where you can share about your center and the services you provide. If they see that you're willing to go to them, then maybe more willing to go to you, right? Or get to know you. Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing is reaching out, right? If you do not have a relationship with that Veterans Center and the team and the leadership down there, or a student veterans organization, reach out to them. Reach out to them, offer, and say, look, we were on a program. A lot of them know who I am. You can use that as a trigger. I was on this presentation. I want to know how we can better serve you, right? Kind of putting out the arm and saying, what can we do to support? And I understand that for some civilians, if you're not familiar with this culture, it can be intimidating. I was just at Cabrillo College down in California last week for Veterans Day celebrations. They had me come in, and I was doing some staff and faculty training on their campus to help educate their staff and faculty about who this population of students were. They had about 300 students on their campus, so a good sizable number of student veterans. And this was not an uncommon question, but I was proud of this lady for standing up and saying it. And she said, I'm not a veteran. I don't have veterans in my family. I'm unfamiliar with it. I want to go to the veteran barbecue that the program's hosting tomorrow, but I have no way to, I don't know how to talk to them. Do they want me to say thank you? Do they want me to talk about the service? I'm just confused. What do I need to do? And this is a higher ed educator. She's a biology teacher, right? She wants to go and show her support, but she's heard mixed messages about, do they want to say something, say thank you for your service? Do they not? Is it a trigger point if you bring up their military experiences, etc.? It's a great question. And for a lot of civilians, they're asking the same thing. The thing we tell them is, look, they're just like any other student. What you need to do is accept them as that. And that's what they want. They don't want to be viewed as broken. Because a lot of them, only a small percent, really suffer from anything that's related to combative, military engagement situations like, PTSD or a loss of limb or whatnot. A large percentage of student veterans have not experienced those things. But what they do is when they come back from the military experience as a veteran, some of them are very proud and recognize that, and they have the high and tight haircut with the U.S. Marine Corps shirt on and whatnot. Other ones just want to mix in. And so when you walk up as a civilian, the best thing you can do is talk to them as one. So why'd you choose to come to, Pacific Lutheran University. Oh, what's your major? Where are you from? And start the dialogue that way. Well, what kind of career path are you looking at? Are you familiar with our services, right? That's a perfect segue. And I encourage people to start those conversations. And once you start building up a rapport and that trust, and other veterans start seeing you interact and coming out to the center and being available, they're going to start walking up because they know that they can trust, and you offer some kind of resources that are going to help them, right? So hopefully that answers your question. Another one here. How can you encourage student veteran participation? We have events and hopefully that discussion I had, and maybe Don and Chuck, if that's another discussion we can have, about engagement. Believe me, it's a good hour-long discussion and giving some examples. But I think that one of working with your student veterans organization, working with the student vet center as well, and just talking to them and seeing what kind of resources are available, and they might not know. And so maybe it's the first step is having a round table. Ask the Veteran Center coordinator if he's having or she's having engagements and having some very active student groups there at their center that are very active and participatory. They can come in and serve as conduct a round table for you. What kind of challenges are you having when it comes to your career path? Have you started thinking about it? And just have them start talking about what they think they need and what resources you have available, and bring those things up. And the fact that they're the ones kind of driving the discussion will oftentimes help them participate. Because remember, these are adults. The average age of student veterans 27 and older. They're usually married, they have children, they're living off campus. They are there for a primary purpose, a career. And if you can come in and offer some resource that's going to help them, and they tell you what they think they need, then you can start that dialogue where you can start providing resources and saying, if we provided these types of things throughout the semester, would these things be something you want to go to? When would be the best time to offer it? Because that's a lot of struggles too. It's like, I come to campus, I'm a father of two, my wife's working, we have our schedules planned out, so I go to school in the mornings till noon, try to book up as many classes as I can, then I head home because I need to be home for my children. So maybe it's an online thing, or you do a recording of it and offer it as a recording and get people to participate that way, right? And sometimes there's a lot more components than just like, can we get them away from their dorm and get them to show up to an event like a traditional student? They offer some different components to that. So hopefully that helps out. Looks like we're kind of getting to a close end to the program, so I want to just highlight something else here that I think would be valuable for everybody's on this program, some of the questions we've been answering. If you haven't visited my website, veterantransitionpublishing.com, right in the middle of the screen, there's it's called the titles Free Stuff, and there's usually not a big red circle and an arrow there, but I encourage you to go there. There's some link to white papers on the lower left. Take advantage of those. Those are all free to download. There's a lot of veteran ones there to take advantage of, as well as some other topics that I know you'll take advantage of. I want to call up to attention to this one as well. We just recently came out with a course, a professional development course, targeted for that campus that's trying to engage and trying to develop veteran programming on their campus, not just career services, but overall. It's called Camouflage the Campus. Put the little image up on here regarding with students holding the American flag. That's the image that's on the cover of this program. It's an online course. You take it, you get a certification, military connected transition student expert is the certificate you earn. There's questions you have to go through, but there is a big section in that regarding career, and the focus on that is an important component. The other one I want to call your attention to is the book, Camo to Career. Just came out. As I mentioned, it was positioned in the wrong way, but we're going back to both markets, that Veteran Center as well as Career Center, saying if you're putting on programming for your student veterans, this needs to be kind of a foundation piece for it. It really starts that dialogue and good discussion about what employers are looking for, what the resources are available to help them develop that resume and understand their military experience and convert that to civilian terms, but also how to succeed in that position once they secure a job. So we don't go into the true resume development or interview skills or finding and looking for jobs. This is really how to maximize the opportunities while you're on campus and have them help you with those components, aka career services. And then the rest of the book is really focused on now you got that awesome career, how do you make the most of it? So the book is really split up into two components. So if you've not taken advantage of that, there's a link. You can go to my website and learn how to get some. We do have a promotion going on that one. If you have not received copies of that, they usually sell for like $38, but today's program, if you use the promo code VET15, VET, capital V, lowercase e, lowercase t, 15, with no space between them, you put that promo code in there, you get the book for $15. So hopefully you can take advantage of that as well. I want to talk about Vice Admiral Arndt. I went to a conference earlier in the winter, this last winter, and he was there. He was the education director for the U.S. Navy for years, and now works as a strategy, marketing, communication, and missions VP at the University of Central Florida, of all places, and doing a phenomenal job there. And they have a wonderful veteran